around it. You need a tiny funnel. Try that. See if it catches on fire.
Ain't gonna catch on fire.
So this is my 89 GMC Sierra. This is my first truck. I was 15 when I got it, and the engine was blowing up. Well, it wasn't blowing up, but it was knocking. It was knocking after the fact. Okay, so this thing wasn't running real good. We got it from my dad's friend. He gave it to me. Had a 305 in it, and it didn't have much power at all. But I got it running pretty good, and then I got my license and everything. I turned 16. Me and my brother, we took it for a ride to the gas station just to get gas. On the way back, climbing a slight grade, I had the thing pegged to the floor. It couldn't even climb the hill. So came back, started messing around, just pulled a sensor wire off and it started knocking. So I knew that's whenever I had to pull the engine. So I pulled the engine, and I have there's a 75 Chevy me and my dad bought years and years ago, and I pulled the engine out of it, put it in here, and I had it in here for a while, but the oil pan rotted out. So I was putting 5 gallon of oil through it a week, and it was just running right out. So I ended up pulling that engine, and we had this engine block. This is out of a 73 car. I don't know what kind of car or whatever. Small block 350, 73 block. Rebuilt it, put rotating assembly. It's all just cast, it's nothing forged. One day we just, you know what, let's go to Summit. Go to Summit, come back with a handful of parts, and built this thing. And had this carburetor. This is a Holley. It's actually, I want to say a 650 and a 750 put together into one. So I had this car built for the engine here, like the cam and whatever, compression and all that fun stuff, and the intake and everything I have on it. So this carb was tuned for this engine, and I never had a dynoed, but it's running probably about 400 horse. Now, this thing is not a very good daily driver, which that's what I had it for. It was a daily driver, and putting about $60 every 5 days, and that's only going 22 miles a day. I would only run it 5 days a week. back and forth to work, and that was it. And I would drive my parents' car on the weekend because I couldn't afford to freaking pay for gas in this thing. So now this engine, it runs really good, but it does have it likes to heat up. So I don't know. Got this aluminum rad, pretty thick. I don't know. I think it's a dual core or whatever the hell. Built this custom fan shroud for it. Put a big old electric fan in the front of it, and she still likes to run hot. She likes to run about 190, and I don't really like running this thing that hot. I'd like to keep it. I got a 160 thermostat in it, and it still just spikes right up to 190. And we messed with the timing and all kinds of stuff just to try and get it to run cooler. Helped a little bit, but not much. And got these headers on here. Now, these headers, I mean, they're pretty old now, but whenever I was driving it, bought them brand new, had them for 6 months to a year, and then they started looking like this. These are hooker headers, and I mean, they're cheap. I only paid a couple $100 for them, but still freaking rotted, just like everything else on this truck. So this truck has been sitting for a couple years down in the weeds, not in the weeds, but on the wood line. And I have the fender flares on the front because I had wide tires and they stuck out probably about to there. And I got pulled over one night, and so I had to get fender flares for it. But I didn't put them on the back because the back tires, it only stuck out about that far. So I figured it would look stupid with the independent suspension, so it makes the front end wider. So I only put fender flares on one, or on the front. But this here was all rotted, and it is. See, it's pretty well freaking junk. The frame in the rear was pretty rotted whenever I parked it. Put brand new taillights in it, hoping this bumper, because this bumper's in pretty good shape, hoping this will bolt on my 02 Duramax. I don't know if it will or not. I mean, it's pretty thin. There's not much there. So I just figured, rather than putting the money into this truck to restore it, because that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of money to restore this thing. Plus, I was never really a fan of this body style. So I'm going to take the good parts off of it and keep what I can. Probably just scrap the rest. So, yeah. That's a walk around. I just started taking little parts off, speakers and stuff for my other truck, so. Ooh. Didn't realize this thing was this bad. Good thing I'm not driving it anymore, right? It's rotted the whole way. A little hole there.
Hello.
See how bad this side is. Ugh. It's a razor blade. Probably shouldn't. Yeah, I'm not gonna touch that. I don't know if that's for me or. Yeah, I'm just not gonna touch it. Be safe. There's some change. What is that? A button. This side seems to be alright. Probably not gonna get that screw out. But we'll lift this up. It's not much better. I mean, it's not. It's not rotted, but it's rusty. Paperclip? Alright, let's pull these wires out of here. What the heck? What is that? What the hell? I don't know. Probably find a lot of junk in this truck. Okay, so this radio is like my black tape on there. Try hold the antenna in there. This radio is pretty well brand new. I got it not long. I mean, whenever I was driving it, I got it for Christmas one year, and I had it for, I'd say 6 months maybe. And then these wires here for your speakers quit working. So, I mean, it's a Pioneer. It was more expensive than like a Kenwood or something. So I was surprised whenever it quit working. I mean, I was pretty irritated since the fact that the radio was brand new, but I guess I'll save it anyway, right? Use it for something. This is all rigged up in here. Yeah, look at all that speaker wire. What is going on here? I had, well, they're still under there. I had two 12-inch subwoofers under the seats. Went through all the trouble, made custom boxes and all that, so it all fit under there. And then one day, I had my amp turned up too far, and I smoked them. And I had no clue. I had no clue I blew my speakers out, because it was the size amp that came with those speakers. So I'm like, I'll just get a new amp. So I figured it was a new amp. So I spent all this money on this new amp, and here I found that my freaking speakers were blown out. So then my brother, he was away at boot camp for the Marines, and he had two 15-inch subwoofers, and his amp actually did go bad. So I ended up, he needed some money to pay for his bills and stuff, so I ended up buying a 15-inch subwoofer off him. And I bought this single box, and I had it sitting in the passenger seat. So nobody could ride with me unless they sat right next to me. So I had this giant 15 in here, and it's just freaking, I mean, with the straight pipe exhaust, here, let me fire this thing up so you can get an idea. I don't know if it'll work or not, but this truck is so loud. It goes from the headers, maybe a 4 or 6 inch piece of pipe, and then 2 cherry bomb on both sides. That's it. So it's kind of not legal the way it is, but I took this to the drag races at County Fair, and I hurry up and threw my headers on there so I had a little bit more flow, so I had a little more power or whatever, just so everything was running better. And I drove it home that night. We trailered it there, and I drove it home that night, and I just never did anything with it. So this thing is super freaking loud, rattles like crazy, so it really doesn't matter how many speakers I had. It really couldn't cover up the sound of the engine. So here, I'll fire it up. As you can tell, this thing is super freaking loud, so speakers didn't really help the situation. So that's about it for the old race truck, as I used to call it. The old race truck. Just gonna be taking some parts off of this thing, and eventually, once I get everything off that I want and ready to down it to get to the scrapyard, I'm going to pull the engine and trans and whatever else. So yeah, if you guys want to see more videos like this, me tearing stuff apart, or if you want to see more restoring projects or just building random stuff, just let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.